While I'm honored to be here with all of you today, I want to make one thing very clear. We shouldn't have to be here today. We shouldn't have to be fighting to reopen a plant for one of the most profitable auto companies in the world, on the earth, to build some of the most profitable vehicles on earth, in the richest country on the earth. Right now, thousands of Belvidere auto workers should be in that plant, making products. You should be bringing home a paycheck for your families, for this community. Stellantis should be honoring this contract, but they're not. And it's not only because they're run by Carlos Tavares, a CEO who will stop at nothing in the name of corporate greed. It's not only because they're serving Wall Street billions in stock buybacks while they cry poverty when it comes to the workers. The reason Stellantis is refusing to keep their promise to the working class, the reason Belvidere is falling behind when this should be the home of thousands of the best blue-collar jobs in the country, is because our political and economic system is broken. For over 40 years, corporate America has been beating down the working class. And I don't have to tell you what they've done to our communities and our labor movement. It's union busting, it's plant closures, it's a government bought and paid for by corporate America that lets them do it. It's trade deals like NAFTA, like Trump's NAFTA, the USMCA, which encourages companies like Stellantis to break their promises and to short workers for short-term gains. Stellantis is making record profits, handing out billions in stock buybacks to juice up their stocks and help their Wall Street buddies instead of reopening and expanding a plant right here in Belvidere like they promised. Since 2023, they've paid out $15 billion in buybacks and dividends. In the last 9 weeks alone, when they're crying about market conditions, they paid out $1 billion in buybacks. They're shipping thousands of good blue-collar jobs out of America to exploit workers in other countries. And they act with impunity because of Trump's failed NAFTA 2.0. Trump's bad trade deal is what lets the most profitable companies in the world abandon the American working class. And it lets them ship jobs out of this country so they can ship their product back in and make a killing off the American consumers and the taxpayers. Right. So, we know the USMCA is broken. And, as one of the 10 senators that voted against Trump's NAFTA, my friend Bernie Sanders knows that too. And another one of the 10 senators that voted against Trump's NAFTA was Kamala Harris. She knows it too. And here's a really sad deal, Yesterday, as Donald Trump was in Detroit, speaking at the Economic Club, slamming Detroit, Donald Trump admitted yesterday when he was speaking, he admitted that his trade deal was broken. He admitted that in 2026, when the USMCA is up for review, it needs major changes. And think about that. We've been saying this for years, and since he renegotiated and said that he fixed NAFTA, and after Kamala Harris came out and said she would renegotiate in 2026 when it's up for review, or we kill it, suddenly it's election season, and now Donald Trump says he wants another chance. He had a chance. He wants a chance to renegotiate his failed trade deal, his NAFTA 2.0, that he put in place when he said he fixed it. But I know we're not falling for it. We're smarter than that. Working class people are smarter than that. And if we're going to stop corporations from devastating our communities, we need leaders who will pass tougher laws that protect union jobs and prevent corporate greed from running rampant. And I can assure you of one thing. That leader is not and will never be Donald Trump. That leader's got to be someone who stood with us for years, not just weeks before an election. And that leader will be Kamala Harris. So on November 5th, we have a choice: support a candidate who protects billionaires or the one who fights for the working class. You know, and that choice to us is very clear. I mean, Kamala Harris stood with us last year when we were on strike, when we secured these investments at Stellantis. And Trump, he paved the way for him to screw us over. He talks tough about bringing jobs back. He talks about bringing all the auto jobs back. But his NAFTA 2.0 was a disaster. And even prior to that, we all know what his body of work did. Several plants were closing under his watch. He did nothing and said nothing to stop it. Not one damn thing. But he wants to say he's bringing the jobs back. Why the hell didn't he do it when he was president? With his failed NAFTA 2.0, we've seen more plant closures, more jobs shipped overseas. We've seen companies like John Deere and Masterlock take full advantage of his trade deal and exploit workers and further hurt communities just like this one. When Trump's NAFTA 2.0 comes up for review in 2026, I mean, do we really want the guy who sides with corporations in charge? Since his NAFTA 2.0, our trade deficit, our trade imbalance with Mexico has doubled, and more jobs are leaving because of it. We have to have leaders who are going to stand up to corporate America and not cozy up to them. And Harris has been that fighter. She was just one of 10 senators alongside Bernie that voted against Trump's NAFTA for that reason, because it didn't go far enough. And she knows how devastating it is for workers. She's been with us in publicly holding companies like Stellantis accountable. She stood shoulder to shoulder with us on the picket lines. In 2019, when Trump was president and GM was on strike for 40 days, when Trump did and said nothing when workers were striking, Kamala Harris stood shoulder to shoulder with striking workers. Trump made a lot of empty promises, and he failed us. And Harris has been in the fight, and with her in office, we're going to see real wins for workers, just like we did, like the reopening of the Lordstown plant and higher wages for EV battery workers. I mean, those Lordstown workers, under Donald Trump's presidency, he told them, don't sell your houses, and he didn't do a damn thing. The plant shut down. Workers got sent all over the country, and hundreds of those workers have now returned home to Lordstown because of the work that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have done. And, you know, there's this debate about the EV industry and you know, Trump trying to say China's going to eat our lunch and we're going to lose it all to China. Trump has already said, think about this. This is a person running for president of the United States. He said already, basically he has ceded that work. He said China is going to own it. China's going to run it. We can't compete with China, were his exact words. I mean, I'd never in my life thought I would hear a president of this country say we cannot compete with somebody else. We built this fucking industry. So, you know, whether it's about EVs, whether it's about combustible engines, I know this, you know, our members don't go to work every day because they're passionate about combustible engines and EV batteries. We go to work because we want to provide for our families. We want to have dignity in our lives, and we want to live in a great community. That's what we do. That's what we do. That's why we do this. It's not about, you know, the batteries or the engines. It's about having a job where you can have some dignity in your life and provide for your family. You know, we do it because that's what we're passionate about. And, you know, in the UAW, we believe in our core principles. We call it 4 core principles, but we believe they're fundamental rights that every American deserves, union or not. Working class people, anyone that goes to work, no matter where they work, they should get these 4 core principles. And that's a right to a living wage, no matter the job. Not a bare minimum wage. Minimum wage weren't intended to be a job for high school kids in the summertime. It's minimum wage 80 years ago when it was put in place was intended to be to where you could live a decent life, a standard of living. You know, we've let the right and people, you know, misconstrue this now to make it think it's just a summer job for teenagers. That's not what it is. We need a living wage no matter what work anyone does in this country. So that's our first core thing. The second core thing is adequate health care, the right to adequate health care. We're in the richest nation in the history of the world, and we rank like 26th or worse in health care. That is shameful. You know, and you shouldn't have to choose when something bad in your life happens, you get a disease or, you know, you get sick, whatever. You should have to choose between medicine or you know, paying your bills. And it's pathetic that we cannot go in the richest nation in the history of the world anytime something's going on and get the top-notch health care. You know, and that's the difference. You know, Trump's America, he believes, you know, those who can pay for it should get health care. Those who can't, you're on your own. That's right. And, you know, so our third core principle that we believe, third core fundamental right we believe in, the right to retirement security. You know, yeah. Only 13% of Americans have a pension. 60% of Americans have no retirement savings. And they don't have retirement savings not because they're irresponsible and don't save their money. It's because people are busting their asses. We're working harder and longer than we've ever worked. But by the time we get done paying the bills at the end of the week and the end of the month, there's not enough left to save. And so that has to change. And so, you know, we all know where Donald Trump stands on pensions. He doesn't believe anyone should have them except the extremely rich and the CEOs. And on top of that, look no further than Medicare and Social Security. Every year of Donald Trump's presidency, he pushed for cuts to Social Security and Medicare. Every year. Kamala Harris has pledged, just as Joe Biden did, that they will not sign any cuts to Medicare and Social Security. And then our fourth fundamental right we believe in, the right to take our time back, to take our lives back. You know, people shouldn't have to work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. They shouldn't have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to scrape to get by paycheck to paycheck. That's not a life. And you know, no one at the end of their life is ever caught wishing that they would have worked more. You know, when we reach the end of our life, most people say it, they wish they had more time to be with family, more time to be with friends, more time to pursue things they want to do that they could never do because they were spending their whole life working their asses off, scraping to get by. You know, time with family. I mean, that's so important. And that's really, to me, that is what this entire election's about. That's what the entire movement, everything we're doing right now here in Belvidere is about. This is about humanity. And it's about where we want to go as a country, what we want to see this country look like in the future. And there are 2 very different visions here. I mean, that's why this decision for me, for our board, and for this union to endorse Kamala Harris was very simple, because there is 2 very distinct differences in these 2 candidates and where they want to take this country. And you think about this, you know, when we say it's about humanity. You got one class of people, and you got the Trump type, that they live, and this is how they eat our lunch, and they've ate our lunch for the last 40 years. They preach divide and conquer. They divide the masses. They divide us over race. They'll divide us over who somebody loves. They'll divide us over this manufactured border crisis. You know, and let me tell you, you know, when I hear about this border crisis, you know, I've seen another, you know, lie out there that, you know, which that's just what Trump and his people do constantly. You know, they talk about, I saw an article where someone was putting out there that 400,000 criminals came into our country under the Biden-Harris administration. Again, that's a lie. That report that was put out goes back 4 decades, 40 years. Donald Trump owns part of that, but they don't talk about that. They try to put it all on one administration, which is a lie. You know, we sat there in a debate with this person, with this scab, and he talked about this lie in Springfield, Illinois, how Haitian people that are here legally are eating people's pets. And that lie was born out of the fact that someone's pet disappeared one night, and they called the police only 3 days later for that pet to return home. But J.D. Vance had already told the lie, and Donald Trump went to repeat it. And just so you know one step further, a lot of those Haitian immigrants that are in Ohio right now, some of those are our UAW family members. They're good people, they're productive citizens, and they're working. And they just want their fair shake. That's it. And you know, so when I talk about these two distinct differences, you know, there's a political party that likes to hold up their Bible, and they love to wrap themselves in a flag. And then they like to tell people, if you don't vote for us, you're not a good Christian, or you're not a patriot. And you know what? Here's the difference. Those people holding that Bible up, I don't believe 90% of them ever even opened the damn thing. The Bible I read, when Jesus was tested about what's the greatest commandment, was to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul. And the second one was like it. Love thy neighbor as thyself, meaning love your fellow human being. Not just your American human being, all human beings. And you know, look no further than the two distinct visions here, because Kamala Harris and her party and her team have preached nothing but unity and coming together. This nation, they know that we're stronger when we're together. Just like we know, solidarity is where our power is. Our power is in the membership. And you think about the symbolism of the United States. You think about that Statue of Liberty in New York. That Statue of Liberty was a symbol. It was saying, give me your weak, you're tired, you're poor. You know, Trump's vision of that is build that wall, and if you don't look like me and think like me, then stay the fuck out. You know, and to me, we talk about humanity and why I say this about humanity. Anytime there's a disaster, this to me is a picture of who we are as a human race and who we are as Americans. You know, when there's a disaster or an emergency, look at just like the recent 2 hurricanes that hit Florida within 3 weeks. Nobody goes in there and says, what political party are you? Nobody goes in there and says, what race are you? What gender are you? Nobody says any of that, you know. We look at that, when we see disaster, we see people suffering, we spring to action because it is built in us internally. It's a God-given thing that we are built to care for one another and to go to work to help one another. And that is who we are as a country. That's what makes us great, not Trump's hate. So that's why we have to elect leaders that put the people first, people like Kamala Harris who have spent a lifetime serving other people, not someone like Trump who has spent his lifetime and continues to spend his life serving himself. So UAW family, it is our time to stand up, to speak up, and show up for candidates who will actually stand with the working class and fight for what we deserve. And we need to show up for Kamala Harris and defeat Donald Trump the scab. And we got a big fight ahead of us, you know, with this company. You know, it's ironic. Yesterday they announced a shakeup in some of the leadership, but ironically, we saw that Carlos Tavares is still there, but they pretty much got rid and changed out about 10 different other corporate leaders. So obviously, Carlos isn't the problem. It's everybody else. And if you believe that, I got oceanfront property in Indiana I'd like to sell you. But, you know, it's a sad, stark reality of where we are right now. That is where our fight is. Carlos Tavares is the problem. Corporate greed's the problem. And we are not going to stop as a union. We've met with our council, and the leadership was unanimous that we are going to take on this fight. We are going to push for this, to do whatever the hell we got to do to win. You know, we are back. This union's back to the mantra, a blow to one's a blow to all. If they screw anybody anywhere, we're coming for them. So between what's going on here, what's going on in this company, and what's going on in this nation right now with our election, those are the massive priorities for us. I say it over and over, this is our generation's defining moment. This is our time to answer the call, and we're going to win this.